The myth of Memnon, the king of Ethiopia. The air was thick with the scent of blood and iron as Memnon, son of Eos the Goddess of the dawn, led his Ethiopian warriors across the Trojan plains. Their shields gleamed beneath a merciless sun, a black tide rising to aid King Priam's beleaguered city. Memnon's presence was as a tempest promised on the horizon. His visage bore the regal making of his homeland, and his eyes held a fire that spoke of ancient lands and timeless valor. Today we fight for honor, Memnon bellowed, his voice cutting through the clamor of war. For Troy, for Ethiopia. His men answered with the resounding war cry, their spirits lifted by his unyielding fever. In the chaotic dance of battle, Memnon's fears found his mark time and time again. His strength was a thing of legend, each thrust and parry weaving him deeper into the fabric of mythic heroism. But the din of clashing metal fell silent for just a moment when he witnessed the fall of his dear comrade Aesop at the hands of Antilochos, the son of King Nestor. Grief ignited within Memnon like a spark to dry tinder. With a thunderous roar, he charged through the melee, his focus singular and absolute. He found Antilochos amidst the fray, a young warrior of remarkable bravery. Antilochos, son of Nestor, standing tall and proud at the center of the battlefield. Memnon's heart beat faster as he closed in on his target. He could feel the weight of his spear in his hand, a familiar grip bringing him both comfort and focus. As he neared Antilochos, their eyes locked in a moment of understanding. Your death will be swift, Memnon growled, narrowing his gaze. Antilochos did not flinch. Instead, he raised his own weapon, a sword that glinted coldly in the sunlight, and took a defensive stance. The two warriors circled each other, their movements fluid and calculated. In that moment, they were equals, both sons of great kings, both skilled fighters driven by duty and honor. And it began, a dance of blades that echoed with ferocity and grief. Each strike was met with an equal measure of skill and strength, neither man giving ground as they fought for their lives. Memnon could feel Aesop's spirit urging within him, fueling his fury and guiding each blow. And finally, after what felt like an eternity, but was only mere minutes, he saw an opening. A split second, that Antilochos' guard faltered. And in that moment, Memnon struck with all his might. His spear pierced through Antilochos' armor and found its mark in his chest. The young warrior stumbled back, shock registering on his face before he fell to the ground, lifeless. Memnon stood over his fallen foe, his chest heaving from the exertion. Such is the weight of war, Memnon thought, his heart heavy with the price of retribution. It spares neither the swift nor the brave. Then the aged King Nestor, grief-stricken and enraged, emerged from among the ranks, his armor ill-fitting on his withered frame. You have taken my son. You have ended my line, cruel king. I seek your heart. But the old king's challenge was met with silence as Memnon lowered his weapon, his gaze never wavering from Nestor's tear-filled eyes. Justice has been dealt, Memnon stated solemnly. I will not raise my hand against one who has already suffered the cruelest cut of faith. Have you not a drop of vengeance left for me, Ethiopian? Nestor's voice trembled, a mix of sorrow and fury. Vengeance is a young man's pursuit, replied Memnon, and the respect for the fallen is a warrior's duty. Our battle, noble Nestor, is done. Memnon's refusal resonated through the ranks of soldiers watching, a hush falling over the nearby combatants. In this act of mercy, Memnon's stature grew, and whispers likened him to the great Achilles, both warriors by codes that transcended the mere spilling of blood. Let the poets sing this day, Memnon mused, where honor outweighed the sword, and an old man's tears were sacred. Around them the war raged on, but in that brief respite, a bond of shared suffering bridged the chasm between two cultures, two generations, and two legends. Memnon turned away from Nestor, his silhouette casting a long shadow upon the battlefield, a figure of immense power and profound humanity, etched against the backdrop of an unforgiving war. The sands around the Greek ships were stained with the blood of many heroes, the air heavy with the cries of dying and the clash of bronze. Memnon, his armor forged in the divine fires of Hephaestus, strode like a titan among mere mortals, his shadow vast on the earth. Again he heard the voice of the king. Memnon! Nestor's voice cut through the cacophony of war, as the old warrior approached the king. His eyes were bottomless pools of grief. For your treachery you shall face Achilles. For my son, Antilochos, grant me this solace. Grant me my revenge. Memnon's gaze, previously fixed on the path of destruction before him, softened at the sight of the aged king. The weight of his ornate shield seemed to grow as he considered their request. Your pain is great, Nestor, and your plea does not go unheard. But know that in summoning Achilles, you call forth a force as relentless and devastating as the sea itself. And as fate would dawn, Achilles emerged from the throng of fighters, his own godly armor gleaming like a second sun. The two warriors faced each other, their statures magnified by the will of Zeus, each being a demigod in his own right. Son of Thetis, Memnon called out, his voice booming across the battlefield. Let us see whose spear fate favors. Achilles narrowed his eyes, a predator's glint within them. King of Ethiopia, your valor is known to me. Let us dance a dance of Ares, and may our ancestors watch over us. Their charge was monumental, shaking the very ground beneath them. Spears thrust and parried, swords sang against shield, each strike a testament to their might. Around them, soldiers paused to witness the clash of legends, as the sky itself seemed to hold its breath. In the fray, Memnon's thoughts were a torrent of strategy and resolve. I fight not merely for glory, but for the souls of the lost, he reflected, his blade meeting Achilles with a sounding clang. Let this battle echo through eternity, a song of steel and honor. Achilles stood tall and proud, his eyes blazing with the fire of divine rage. Memnon, he growled, drawing his sword and pointing it at the king, I have been waiting for this moment for a long time. Then let us finish what we started in the plains of Troy, Memnon replied, his own weapon always ready. They circled each other again, like predators, their movements fluid and graceful. The air crackled with tension as they clashed again, their swords ringing out like thunder. Both men were evenly matched in strength and skill, their blows striking sparks off their godly armor. Every strike was met with a parry, every move countered with a swift dodge. As they fought, the ground trembled beneath them, as if even the earth itself could feel the impact of their battle. The skies darkened above them as Zeus himself watched from Mount Olympus, his will fueling the intensity of their duel. The gods and goddesses looked on, their own allegiances and grudges manifesting in the battlefield as gusts of wind or sudden shifts in fortune. Hera, who had long hated Achilles for his role, whispered in Greek's ear, let Memnon triumph over this arrogant demigod. It would be a blow to Thetis' pride. But Zeus had his own machinations. For hours they fought without respite or rest until finally exhaustion set in and they both paused to catch their breath. Around them lay a wasteland of destruction, a testament to their power and determination. Impressive, Achilles said through heavy breaths, but I will not back down until I have avenged my fallen comrade. The two continued their endless battle, neither yielding an inch. Yet, as all things do, this clash of swords was drawing to an end. For the great Zeus had deemed that the prideful Troy would fall, and thus the fate of Memnon was sealed. It was a subtle movement for the greatest of the gods, a flash of lightning intended only for the eyes of the Ethiopian king, drawing a moment of his intention. And in that moment, etched within destiny, Achilles found his opening. His spear drove true, piercing Memnon's heart with cruel finality. Memnon's eyes met Achilles, a solid exchange of warriors' respect, before the light faded from them. As he fell, his massive form seemed to diminish, becoming once more mortal. A divine gasp rose from the Ethiopian ranks, and then a scream of terror as they turned and fled. Their invincible king lay slain. The battlefield grew still in the wake of the retreat, save for the haunting echoes of clashing bronze and the soft murmur of waves lapping against the stone. Achilles stood over Memnon, his victory hollow in the shadow of the noble enemy who lay vanquished at his feet. In the chamber of the gods, Eos, the goddess of the dawn, burst through the golden doors, her fury undeniable. Great Zeus, you have wronged my beloved Memnon. The battle was tilted by your hand, by your action. She stands before the gods in attendance. Was my son not a righteous man? Was he not even more honorable than these gods that sit here with you? Is he not more righteous than you yourself, great Zeus? The face of Zeus grew grave, and the air went chill, all awaiting the lightning bolt that would destroy Eos. Even Eos herself was prepared, but still she would not relent, even in the face of her warrior king. Your words are bold, Eos. It was my decree that prideful Troy would fall. His face softened, turning introspective. But your son Memnon indeed was a righteous man, and I will make right my injustice and grant him an immortal life. In the ashes of the burned city of Troy, dawn breaks, Eos herself blessing the land. Beneath the ash rose a hero, a legend. Memnon, the warrior king, slowly rises, greeted by his great mother. Rise, my son. Your story is not yet done.